Welcome to the Brit Tales, where imagination meets inspiration. Today's story invites you to explore how a creative spark can grow into a lifelong ambition, shaping the path toward a dream that refuses to fade. We'll step into the challenges of pursuing a professional writing career, where discipline and courage are tested at every turn. Along the way, we'll uncover the constant struggle between expectations and self-belief, a battle every dreamer must face. We'll see how the power of feedback becomes a tool for honing skills, turning criticism into growth and resilience. Most of all, this journey reminds us that dreams alone are fragile, but determination transforms them into reality. So, listen closely, reflect deeply, and let these words guide your own path of ambition. And again, welcome to the Brit Tales, where every story teaches us to dream, to endure, and to believe. From the earliest days, there was always a spark that refused to fade, a mind that wandered far beyond the ordinary, sketching worlds that no one else could see. It wasn't just daydreaming, it was the living, breathing imagination that shaped every moment of childhood. While others were satisfied with the simplicity of play, there was always a search for meaning, for story, for the magic hidden in the smallest details of life. A walk through the park could become an epic adventure. The sight of clouds drifting across the sky could transform into tales of kingdoms and journeys waiting to unfold. That restless imagination never seemed like a distraction. It became a compass pointing steadily toward a lifelong ambition. The pull towards storytelling was not forced. It was natural, as if each new thought carried the weight of something important to be shared. Pages of notebooks filled up quickly, scrawled with half-finished ideas, characters waiting for voices, and fragments of dialogue that hinted at bigger pictures. What looked like scribbles to others were, in fact, pieces of a dream stitched together with persistence. Every blank page was an invitation to dive deeper into creativity, to give shape to feelings and visions that refused to stay silent. The imagination was not just playful, it was purposeful, it sought to leave a mark. That sense of purpose grew stronger with every passing year. The ambition was not a fleeting wish, but a calling that shaped choices, guided actions, and quietly reminded that life would only feel complete if those imagined worlds could be turned into words for others to experience. It wasn't easy to hold on to such a vision when the world often suggested safer paths, more predictable futures. Yet, when faced with doubt, there was always that inner voice urging to keep dreaming, to keep writing, to keep creating. Ambition doesn't survive without fuel, and imagination provided that fuel endlessly, pouring itself into ideas that demanded attention. At times, the imagination was almost too vivid, painting futures that felt out of reach, sparking desires that seemed too bold. But rather than crushing the spirit, those visions became motivators. They whispered reminders that even if the road was uncertain, the dream itself was worth pursuing. There is something extraordinary about holding a dream so tightly that it becomes part of your identity. It doesn't let you rest until you act on it, until you take the courage to shape it into reality. Of course, imagination alone does not guarantee achievement. It can light the path, but it also creates challenges. Ideas come faster than they can be captured, and sometimes reality seems dull compared to the worlds within the mind. The task then becomes one of discipline, learning how to translate fleeting visions into tangible stories that others can connect with. That process requires patience, practice, and a willingness to confront one's own limitations. Yet, even in the frustration of failed drafts and discarded pages, the imagination remains a constant companion, reassuring that each attempt is another step toward the lifelong ambition. In the end, it is that combination of imagination and determination that transforms a dream into something more. It is not enough to simply think creatively. One must also act courageously, refusing to let the ambition fade into regret. The dream continues to grow, nourished by every story created, by every idea that finds its way onto the page. And with each step forward, the vision that began as a spark in childhood becomes clearer, sharper, more attainable. A creative imagination shaping a lifelong ambition is not just a gift, it is a responsibility. To honor it, to nurture it, and to see how far it can truly go. Pursuing a professional writing career is a path that sounds inspiring, even romantic, from a distance. But once you step onto it, the reality is far more demanding than most would ever imagine. It begins with the excitement of having stories inside you, words that beg to be written. But soon enough you discover that the world of professional writing is filled with challenges that test not just your skill, but your character. The dream of writing for a living comes with an unspoken promise. There will be obstacles, there will be moments of doubt, and there will be long stretches where the results seem far away. And yet, this very challenge is what makes the pursuit meaningful. One of the first hurdles is discipline. Writing as a passion is different from writing as a career. When it is just a hobby, you write when you feel inspired, you pause when you lose interest, and there is no real consequence to whether you finish or not. But when you aim to build a career out of it, the expectation shifts dramatically. Suddenly, every page carries weight, deadlines begin to loom, and the act of writing becomes a daily responsibility. You must learn to write even when the words don't come easily, even when the spark of imagination feels dim. Discipline transforms writing from a pastime into a profession, and without it, the dream quickly fades. Another challenge lies in comparison. The world is full of talented writers, some already published, some widely recognized, and their presence can either inspire or intimidate. It's easy to fall into the trap of measuring your own worth against their achievements. You begin to wonder if your voice is strong enough, if your stories matter enough, or if the effort will ever be noticed. This silent battle with self-doubt is one of the most persistent struggles for anyone serious about writing. It takes resilience to remind yourself that a unique perspective cannot be replaced, that every voice has its place, and that persistence often outweighs natural talent in the long run. Then there is the reality of rejection. Manuscripts sent out into the world are often met with silence, or worse, a polite no. Each rejection feels like a personal failure at first, as though the dream itself is slipping further away. But rejection is not the end, it is part of the process. Every professional writer knows that it is not a question of if you will be rejected, but how many times you are willing to face it before success arrives. It is through rejection that the dream is tested, refined, and strengthened. You learn to separate yourself from the outcome, to see feedback as fuel rather than as defeat. The pursuit also demands sacrifices that are not always visible to others. While friends may be enjoying free time, you are often bent over a desk, shaping paragraphs, revising drafts, chasing perfection in every sentence. It can feel isolating at times because the work of writing is deeply personal and often solitary. You carry entire worlds in your mind, yet the process of bringing them to life requires hours of quiet focus, hours where the outside world fades away. Balancing this commitment with the responsibilities of everyday life is a challenge few understand, but one that every aspiring professional writer must navigate. And yet, for all the obstacles, there is a deeper truth. The struggle is what gives the dream its value. Without the challenges, the pursuit would lack meaning. Every difficulty faced, every doubt conquered, every rejection endured is a reminder of how much the dream truly matters. It is not the easy victories that shape a writer. It is the persistence in the face of difficulty that defines the path to becoming a professional. The challenge of pursuing a professional writing career is not one to be feared but embraced, because it is within the struggle that the true strength of ambition is revealed. There comes a point on the journey toward any dream when the weight of expectations begins to press harder than the dream itself. Expectations come from everywhere: family, teachers, friends, society, and they often arrive dressed as advice, encouragement, or concern. They sound like well-meaning reminders of what is practical, what is sensible, what is safe. At first, they may not seem heavy, but as time passes, they begin to create a pressure that pulls you in directions you never intended to go. It is in these moments that the battle between expectations and self-belief becomes the fiercest. The dream of writing is not always understood by others. To some, it looks uncertain, unstable, even unrealistic. They may suggest that talent alone is not enough, that the odds of success are slim, that a more predictable path would offer security and peace of mind. Those words echo loudly, especially when progress feels slow or invisible. You begin to question yourself, to wonder if they are right, to wonder if you are chasing something that might never come true. Doubt creeps in quietly, whispering that perhaps the dream is too ambitious, that perhaps the imagination which once inspired you is leading you astray. And yet, deep inside, there is that quiet but unshakable self-belief. It does not shout, it does not demand, but it refuses to be silenced. It reminds you of the fire that began this journey, of the joy you feel when words finally fall into place, of the sense of purpose that no other pursuit can replace. Self-belief is not arrogance. It is the steady conviction that the dream matters, even if the world does not yet see its value. It is fragile at times, easily overshadowed by the noise of expectations, but it is also resilient, refusing to disappear no matter how often it is tested. The struggle between these two forces can be exhausting. On one side, expectations push you toward conformity, toward choices that guarantee stability. On the other, self-belief urges you to take risks, to trust the uncertain path, to keep going even when results are not immediate. This inner tug-of-war is not just about career choices. It is about identity, about deciding whether to live according to what others expect or to honor the truth of who you are. And the decision is never simple. Every step forward requires courage. Every moment of doubt demands faith. Sometimes the weight of expectations wins. You might put the dream aside, focus on responsibilities, follow a safer route. But even then, the dream does not vanish. It waits patiently, resurfacing in quiet moments, reminding you that you can only silence self-belief for so long. Other times, self-belief rises stronger, urging you to take another step, to risk another failure, to ignore the doubt of others and listen to the voice within. And when that happens, even the smallest progress feels like a victory because it belongs entirely to you. Balancing the two is perhaps the greatest challenge of all. It is not always possible to shut out expectations, nor is it wise to ignore every practical concern. But the dream cannot survive if self-belief is abandoned. You learn over time to carry both, to acknowledge the expectations, but to lean more heavily on the belief that drives you. That balance is fragile, shifting constantly, yet it is within that struggle that resilience is built. The struggle between expectations and self-belief is not a weakness. It is the very ground on which ambition stands. Without it, there would be no test of courage, no proof of how deeply the dream matters. There is a moment in every writer's journey when the page no longer feels like a private world, but a doorway into the judgment of others. Sharing your words, exposing your ideas, and allowing them to be read is an act of courage, because the instant someone else sees your work, it is no longer only yours. It becomes subject to interpretation, critique, and reaction. That first encounter with feedback can feel overwhelming. It can sting, it can bruise, and it can make you question everything you thought you knew about your ability. And yet, it is through feedback that growth begins to take shape. Without it, the dream of improving, of truly honing the craft, would remain incomplete. Feedback is powerful because it reflects back what you cannot always see yourself. As a writer, you live so deeply inside your own words that blind spots inevitably appear. Sentences that make perfect sense to you may confuse the reader. Ideas that feel vivid in your imagination may seem unfinished on the page. Emotions you believe are clear may not reach the audience at all. It takes another pair of eyes, another perspective, to uncover those gaps. At first, it is tempting to resist, to defend your choices, to believe that others simply don't understand what you intended. But when the resistance softens and you open yourself to truly listening, feedback becomes less of a threat and more of a guide. The power of feedback lies not only in correction, but in possibility. Each suggestion, each critique, offers an opportunity to see your work from a different angle. It teaches you to question whether a sentence could be sharper, whether a character's voice could be stronger, whether a scene could carry more emotion. It doesn't diminish your creativity, it refines it. It reminds you that writing is not about clinging to the first draft, but about being willing to shape, polish, and rebuild until the story becomes what it was always meant to be. Of course, not all feedback is equal. Some will come wrapped in kindness, others in blunt honesty, and sometimes even in harshness. The challenge is to learn how to separate the useful from the unnecessary, to recognize when criticism is meant to help you grow, and when it reflects only the taste or opinion of another. This discernment takes time, but with practice, you begin to see patterns. When several voices point to the same weakness, it is often worth addressing. When one opinion stands alone, it may simply be a reminder that no story can please everyone. The skill lies in receiving feedback without letting it shatter your confidence, in allowing it to strengthen rather than silence your voice. Growth through feedback also requires humility. It means admitting that your work is not perfect, that there is always room to improve, no matter how skilled you become. It requires letting go of pride and embracing the idea that even criticism is a form of respect, a sign that someone cared enough to engage with your words. The most accomplished writers never stop seeking feedback because they understand that mastery is not a destination but a continual process of refinement. Every new piece of advice, every thoughtful critique, adds another layer to their craft. With time, you begin to see feedback not as an obstacle, but as an ally. You learn to welcome it, to seek it out, to treat it as part of the journey rather than as a threat to your ambition. It becomes a mirror that reflects both your strengths and your weaknesses, reminding you where you have grown and where you can still go further. And in that process, your writing evolves, your confidence deepens, and your dream moves closer to reality. The power of feedback in honing skills and growth is undeniable, because without it, the dream remains a possibility, but with it, the dream takes shape and becomes something greater than you could have created alone. Criticism is one of the most unavoidable parts of pursuing any creative dream, and writing is no exception. The moment your words leave the safety of your own mind and are shared with others, they invite opinions. some supportive, some constructive, and others far less kind. At first, every negative remark feels like a blow to your confidence, like a reminder that perhaps you are not good enough. The sting of criticism has the power to silence even the most passionate voice if you allow it. This is where resilience becomes not just a strength but a necessity, the shield that allows you to withstand the weight of judgment and continue moving forward. Resilience begins with perspective. Criticism, no matter how sharp, does not define you. It is only one person's view of one piece of work in one moment of time. The danger lies in believing that criticism is the ultimate truth, when in reality it is often just a reflection of someone else's taste, preference, or even mood. To grow as a writer, you must learn to step back, to see criticism not as an attack on your identity, but as feedback on a single effort. Resilience teaches you to separate your worth from your work, to understand that one story, one draft, or even one failure does not represent the full measure of your ability. There is also a deeper lesson hidden within criticism, the opportunity to strengthen both your craft and your character. Not every harsh word should be dismissed, because some criticisms hold valuable insight that can reveal blind spots or weaknesses you may not have noticed. The resilient mind does not crumble at such feedback. It absorbs what is useful, discards what is destructive, and emerges stronger. Resilience allows you to take criticism as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block, to treat it as a part of the process rather than the end of the journey. But resilience is not only about absorbing criticism, it is also about enduring the silence that sometimes follows. Often, your work is met not with rejection letters or harsh comments, but with no response at all. That silence can be louder than words, making you question if your efforts matter, if anyone is listening at all. Without resilience, such moments can lead to giving up, to abandoning the dream altogether. With resilience, however, silence is seen as space for growth, a reminder that persistence is the true test of ambition. The truth is, resilience is built over time. It does not appear instantly, but develops through experience. The more you face criticism, the more you learn how to carry it without letting it break you. At first, every remark may feel personal, but gradually you realize that criticism cannot stop you unless you choose to stop yourself. Each time you recover from disappointment, each time you pick up the pen again after doubt has tried to paralyze you, resilience grows stronger. It becomes the quiet voice inside that says, "Try again, keep going. This is not the end." Resilience also carries a quiet dignity. It does not mean you must harden yourself against all emotion or pretend that criticism does not hurt. It means you acknowledge the pain, but you refuse to let it dictate your path. It means you honor the dream enough to continue nurturing it even when others cannot yet see its value. In this way, resilience transforms criticism from a force that could destroy you into a force that shapes you, molding both your work and your will into something far more enduring. The importance of resilience in overcoming criticism lies in this simple truth. Without it, the dream collapses under the weight of doubt, but with it, the dream learns not only to survive, but to thrive. Every dream begins as something fragile, a vision carried quietly in the heart, often hidden from the world because it feels too delicate to expose. At first, it is enough just to imagine it, to feel the excitement of what could be, to lose yourself in the possibility of a future shaped by that dream. But dreams alone are not enough. They are beautiful, yes, but they are also fleeting, and without the strength to act on them, they risk fading into nothing more than what-ifs. The real transformation happens when a dream stops being just a hope and begins to harden into determination. That shift is the moment when imagination takes on responsibility, when the dream becomes a commitment. The journey is not smooth. It begins with inspiration, that rush of energy that makes you believe anything is possible. In those moments, it feels as if the dream is already within reach, as though you only need to stretch your hand out and claim it. But soon, reality presents its obstacles. You stumble across rejection, doubt, and the steady voice of fear reminding you how easy it would be to give up. This is the turning point, the place where so many let go. But for those who choose to continue, something begins to change. The dream is no longer about ease or fantasy. It becomes about grit, about pushing forward even when everything feels uncertain. Determination is born in those hard places. It is not loud or dramatic. It is steady, persistent, and often quiet. It comes in the decision to keep writing even when inspiration feels absent. It shows itself when you refuse to let failure define you, when you treat each setback as a lesson instead of a defeat. Determination is waking up to try again, even after yesterday felt like a loss. It is patience, resilience, and courage woven together into action. The dream is still there, but now it is carried with a seriousness that was not present before, a seriousness that fuels discipline. There is also a profound shift in identity that happens when determination takes hold. A dream is something you have, but determination is something you become. You begin to see yourself differently, not as someone who simply wishes or hopes, but as someone who is actively building, shaping, and working. You start measuring progress not only in moments of success, but in every effort you make to move forward. Each draft written, each page completed, each revision made is no longer just an attempt. It is proof of your commitment. Even small steps carry meaning because they reflect the larger decision to honor the dream through action. This transformation does not mean that doubt disappears. Doubt will always return, testing the strength of your resolve. But determination gives you the power to face it differently. Instead of allowing doubt to paralyze you, you learn to keep going despite it. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment, you take imperfect action, trusting that progress comes through persistence. In this way, determination acts as a shield, protecting the dream from being swallowed by fear or hesitation. Over time, you begin to realize that determination is what makes the dream real. It is no longer just something imagined. It becomes something lived. The story shifts from being about possibility to being about action. And it is in that shift that growth happens, not only as a writer but as a person. The dream fuels you, but determination transforms you. It teaches you that ambition is not about waiting for opportunity to arrive, but about creating it with your own hands, day after day, word after word. A journey of dreams turning into determination is the proof that hope alone is not enough. But with persistence and courage, even the most fragile vision can become an unshakable reality. Thank you for joining me on this journey through imagination, ambition, and the courage it takes to chase a dream. We've seen how creativity can shape a lifelong vision, how the path to writing demands discipline, and how expectations often wrestle with self-belief. We've explored the value of feedback, the strength of resilience when facing criticism, and the way dreams are transformed into determination. Each of these lessons reminds us that the road may be challenging, but it is also rewarding. Carry these reflections with you and let them inspire your own pursuit of growth and self-expression. Until we meet again here on the Brit Tales, keep imagining, keep striving, and never stop believing in the power of your story.